So this is pretty huge. The MCU just announced their makeover for Avengers 5, which was originally the Kang Dynasty, but after Jonathan Majors got fired from the MCU, that decision was scrapped. It's now called Avengers Doomsday, and Kang is getting scrapped in favor of Doctor Doom. But that's not the big news. The big news is who's going to be playing Doctor Doom, which was a secret until a few nights ago when Robert Downey Jr. was revealed to be the guy that's playing Doctor Doom. So that means Iron Man is returning to the MCU, sort of. This is definitely a very odd decision, and it caught everyone off guard. And there are a lot of takes on it. Obviously, a lot of people think this is a desperate decision by the MCU, who has been flailing a lot recently. But there's also a camp of people who are excited to see Robert Downey Jr. back because they're excited to see something exciting in the MCU again, because there hasn't been much excitement yet, except for Deadpool and Wolverine, which I think was a good movie. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. But overall, this is genuinely one of the most interesting things to come from the MCU in terms of news recently. And honestly, I'm very conflicted because naturally, and at first, my thought was I leaned very heavily in the camp of, yeah, they're pretty desperate right now. And I do think it is an act of desperation. I mean, they also got the Russo brothers back for this and Secret Wars, which both of these two were announced simultaneously, and Avengers Secret Wars actually got a new makeover in the logo. And also Robert Downey Jr. will be Doctor Doom in both of those, so he's basically the next Thanos. But at first I thought, yes, this is a desperation move, but when I thought about it more, I actually thought there's kind of a 50-50 chance that this is clearly not going to go well. In fact, it really shouldn't work if you think about it. But I also think it could be actually a good idea if it's done right. I mean, let's start off with the obvious, and the reason why everybody found it really insane that he's going to be playing Doctor Doom. I mean, the Avengers are going to be... I have to imagine that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to be in these movies. And when he sees Doctor Doom, I mean, he's going to be like, Mr. Stark, are you alive? So it definitely is a bizarre decision, but the more I think about it, it could also go very right, in the sense that the MCU, if they take the time to write this story, they could construct a plot that makes some sense. My guess, and this is kind of a wild guess and probably what's going to happen, is that this is going to be a variant of Tony Stark. So they're continuing the multiverse theme, of course. They're going into Secret Wars. And this will probably be an evil version of Tony Stark to a degree. And I feel like Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor, and he can do a compelling villain. In fact, if you watched Oppenheimer, he was the main antagonist of that movie, and he did a really good performance. He won his first Oscar for that, actually. And I actually really think that he has the potential to play a really good character. I do get the sense that Doctor Doom is going to be a Tony Stark variant in some form. I mean, if you look at the mask, the way that his character is, if you look at Doctor Doom in the comics, this definitely feels like something you can put Tony Stark in, or a version of him in, like a more evil version of him. And believe it or not, if you looked at Avengers Age of Ultron, Tony Stark, he did have a belief, in fact, he had a vision, and this is what went wrong, that Ultron essentially was part of a group of robots that would guard the world and protect them. And I think that idea could play into what is going to be done in Doomsday. And I'm not too sure about it, but I do think that it's going to be something like that. I think that all the other Dooms we saw on the stage at Comic-Con, I think those are probably going to be, I feel, robots created by him if they go with the Tony Stark variant idea. Now, as to how he becomes villainous, that's a different story. There's still a lot of open questions about that, and I'm going to be honest, I still think that Secret Wars is not something that the MCU should have started doing so early. It really is just, like, in my opinion, it's kind of just a given that something like Secret Wars in the multiverse is something that would take longer than it took to get Thanos. But it looks like we're not going to get that. It looks like we are getting Doomsday and Secret Wars in 2 years, actually. And then Secret Wars in 3. So we'll see how that goes. There is a lot of potential. It's either going to be really good or really bad. And we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes. I am going to have no expectations for this because the MCU really seems to have run its course, and this very well may be just a desperation move, or it could be hopeful. But that is for 2026 to figure out.